The medical ship Drifthaven moved quietly through deep space, carrying wounded soldiers from many worlds. Its white halls were clean and calm, but fear lived behind every closed door. This ship was far from any planet, far from help, and every life inside depended on the medical crew. Among the injured was a human soldier named Ethan Cole. He had been pulled from the ruins of a battle zone after a massive explosion. His armor was broken, his body burned, and his heartbeat weak. Most species would not survive such damage, but the human was still breathing. An alien nurse named Saraya was assigned to him. She belonged to the Varelian race, tall and silver-skinned with glowing blue eyes. She had trained for years and treated hundreds of species. But humans were rare, mysterious, and poorly understood. Saraya entered the recovery chamber with calm steps. The human lay on the bed, covered in medical cloth, machines humming softly around him. She scanned his chest, arms, and legs carefully. The scans showed heavy injuries, but also strong healing signs. This confused her, because no known species healed this fast. As she continued the examination, her scanner detected an unusual swelling in the lower part of his body. The reading showed high blood flow and strange muscle reactions. Saraya froze, her eyes widening in shock. She believed she had found a dangerous inflammation or unknown infection. Her heart raced as medical training fought with fear. She adjusted the scanner again, but the results did not change. The swelling reacted to nerve signals instead of disease markers. Saraya had never seen anything like this before. Her mind jumped to the worst conclusion. She believed this human carried an unstable biological threat. Saraya stepped back and activated the emergency channel. Her voice shook as she called for senior doctors. She warned them of a possible internal human condition that could become deadly. Within moments, other alien staff rushed into the chamber. They stared at the human patient with mixed fear and curiosity. The lead doctor, an old insect-like being, studied the scans silently. He tapped the screen again and again, confused by the data. None of their medical files explained this reaction. Humans were known to be strange, but this was something else. While the doctors argued, Ethan began to wake up. Pain filled his body as his eyes slowly opened. He felt the cold air of the medical room and heard voices he did not understand. His vision blurred as strange shapes leaned over him. Saraya noticed his movement and panicked. She thought the swelling was becoming more dangerous. She ordered restraints to activate, believing she was protecting everyone. The medical bed locked his arms gently. Ethan tried to speak, but his throat was dry and weak. He whispered confused words, trying to ask where he was. The alien staff misunderstood his sounds as signs of distress. Tension filled the room like a storm ready to explode. At that moment, the swelling increased slightly due to his waking state. Saraya gasped, believing her fears were confirmed. One nurse whispered that humans might hide biological weapons inside their bodies. Another suggested immediate sedation or isolation. Ethan sensed the fear around him. Even without understanding their language, he knew something was wrong. He raised his head with effort and tried to calm himself. His training as a soldier taught him to stay still, stay calm, and observe. Saraya looked into his eyes for the first time. She expected rage or madness. Instead, she saw confusion, pain, and quiet patience. This moment shook her deeply. The human did not struggle. He did not attack. He did not scream. He simply waited. Trusting strangers in a place far from home, the lead doctor ordered a pause. He wanted more data before making a dangerous decision. Saraya hesitated, torn between fear and doubt. Her instincts told her something was wrong, but not in the way she thought. She lowered the scanner and watched Ethan breathe. His heartbeat slowly stabilized. The swelling did not grow out of control. It reacted naturally, not violently, Saraya felt embarrassment mixing with curiosity. Had she misunderstood human biology completely? The training files about humans were short and outdated. Most races avoided humans due to their strength and war history. As the room quieted, Saraya made a choice. She decided to observe instead of panic, to learn instead of fear. She ordered the restraints loosened slightly. Some staff protested, but she stood firm. The human deserved care, not suspicion. Ethan noticed the change. He relaxed a little and closed his eyes again. Trust was forming silently between two beings from different worlds. Outside the room, whispers spread across the ship. Stories of a strange human condition, rumors of hidden power inside human bodies. Fear mixed with fascination. Saraya stood beside the human patient. Watching the monitors carefully, she did not know it yet. But this moment would change how she saw humans forever. This single misunderstanding would soon reveal something much greater. Not about biology, but about the true strength of humanity. The ship continued its journey through the dark stars, unaware that a simple medical mistake had started a story that would echo across the galaxy. The medical chamber remained silent after the doctors left. Only the soft sound of machines and the slow breathing of the human filled the room. Saraya stayed beside Ethan, watching every movement carefully. She replayed the scans in her mind again and again. Nothing matched disease patterns. Nothing matched infection logic. Yet fear still sat heavy in her chest. She accessed the ship's restricted database. Human biology files opened slowly, many sections marked incomplete. The words warning and unpredictable appeared again and again. This only increased her tension. While she studied, Ethan drifted in and out of sleep. Pain came in waves, but his body kept fighting. Broken bones slowly aligned. Burned tissue began repairing itself. Even unconscious, his body refused to surrender. Saraya noticed the healing speed and felt a chill. No Varelian could survive like this. No known species recovered this fast, without advanced machines. Yet the human did it naturally. Suddenly, alarms echoed through the ship. Red lights flashed across the hallway outside. An emergency signal rang through the medical wing. Saraya's heart jumped as she turned toward the door. A junior nurse rushed in, her voice shaking. She reported movement detected near the ship's outer hull. Possible hostile presence, unknown origin. The wounded were no longer safe. Saraya looked at Ethan, still weak and injured. Fear twisted inside her. If enemies boarded the ship, the medical wing would be defenseless. She activated the privacy field around the room. Her hands moved quickly, but her thoughts raced. Why would enemies attack a medical ship? What did they want? Outside? Heavy footsteps echoed through metal halls. Alien voices shouted orders. The ship's calm atmosphere shattered into chaos. Ethan's eyes opened again, sharper this time. He sensed danger immediately. Years of battle training awakened inside him. Even injured, his mind was clear. He tried to move, but pain stabbed through his body. Saraya noticed and rushed to his side. She pressed gently against his shoulder. Signaling him to stay still, her eyes met his again. In that moment, no words were needed. Fear passed silently between them. They both understood that something terrible was happening. A loud explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered. Medical tools fell from shelves. The sound of distant screams followed. Saraya froze. Her people were healers, not fighters. She had never faced real combat before. Her instincts screamed to run. Ethan clenched his jaw. He forced himself upright, despite the pain. His body protested, but his will was stronger. Saraya tried to stop him, shaking her head. He ignored the pain and swung his legs over the side of the bed. Sweat rolled down his face as his muscles trembled. Another blast shook the hallway closer now. The privacy field shimmered. It would not hold forever. Saraya realized something terrifying. The human was preparing to protect the room, not because he was ordered, but because it was the right thing to do. She felt a deep confusion. This was not how the files described humans. They were supposed to be violent, aggressive, unstable. Yet this one was standing up to defend strangers. The door outside bent under heavy force. Metal groaned loudly. Enemy weapons sliced through the corridor. Saraya grabbed a medical tool, her hands shaking. She knew it would not help much, but fear pushed her to act anyway. Ethan slowly stood fully upright. Blood seeped through his bandages. His breathing was heavy, but his eyes burned with focus. He placed himself between the door and the medical beds, shielding the wounded without hesitation. The door finally burst open. Strange armored figures stormed inside. Their weapons glowed with deadly energy. They froze when they saw the human standing there. Not running, not hiding, but waiting. Saraya felt her breath stop. The swelling she feared earlier reacted again. But now she understood something important. It was not a disease. It was part of a survival response. The enemy leader laughed, mocking the injured human. He raised his weapon confidently. Ethan took one slow step forward. Pain screamed through his body, but he did not stop. Saraya watched in shock and fear, realizing too late that humans were dangerous only when pushed, and unstoppable when protecting others. The tension hung heavy in the air. One wrong move would end everything. The fate of the medical wing balanced on this single moment. The human and the enemy locked eyes, the room silent, time slowing, and just as the enemy weapon began to charge, the ship's lights cut out completely. Throwing everyone into darkness, the suspense exploded, leaving the outcome unknown and the truth about humanity closer than ever to being revealed. Darkness swallowed the medical chamber completely. Only emergency lights glowed faint red along the floor. The sudden silence felt heavier than the explosions before. Saraya could hear her own breathing, fast and uneven. Her hands trembled as she stood frozen beside the human. She could no longer see the enemy clearly, only shapes moving in the dark. Ethan did not move back. He stayed where he was, standing between danger and the wounded. His senses sharpened, listening to footsteps, armor clicks, and weapon hums. The enemy soldiers whispered to each other. Confused by the blackout, they expected fear, screams, and chaos. Instead, they felt something watching them. One of the invaders stepped forward carelessly. His boots echoed against the metal floor. That sound was enough. Ethan moved, despite his injuries. His body reacted with trained instinct. He grabbed a fallen medical pole and swung it hard. The strike hit armor with a loud crack. The enemy soldier crashed into the wall and collapsed. Saraya gasped, unable to believe what she had just seen. The other invaders panicked. They fired blindly into the darkness. Energy blasts burned the air, missing their target by inches. Ethan pulled Saraya down behind a medical console. He shielded her with his body without thinking. The pain nearly knocked him unconscious, but he stayed upright. Saraya felt his strength, real and solid. Not violent, not wild, controlled, focused, protective. She realized something deep inside her chest. The human was not fighting to win. He was fighting to protect life. Security alarms echoed again. Closer now, footsteps of ship guards rushed toward the medical wing. The invaders knew their time was limited. The enemy leader shouted orders angrily. He demanded the human be killed first. Fear had entered his voice. Ethan heard the change. He stepped out from cover again, drawing attention to himself. Every movement hurt, but he forced his body forward. Blood soaked his bandages, his vision blurred, but his mind stayed sharp. Saraya tried to stop him, grabbing his arm. Her voice shook as she begged him to stay back. He gently pushed her behind him. Shaking his head, another blast hit his side. He stumbled, but did not fall. The sight shocked everyone watching. Friend and enemy alike. No species should still be standing. No wounded soldier should still be advancing. Yet the human did. The enemy leader hesitated. Doubt replaced confidence. Legends about humans suddenly felt real. Security forces burst into the chamber at that moment. Weapons raised, shouting commands, the invaders retreated under heavy fire. One by one, the enemies fled or fell. The medical chamber slowly returned to silence. Broken only by alarms and heavy breathing, Ethan finally collapsed to his knees. His body could fight no longer. Saraya rushed to his side. Catching him before he hit the floor, she dragged him back onto the medical bed. Her hands moved fast, skill replacing fear. She sealed wounds, stabilized his breathing, and restarted monitors. The human was alive. Barely, but alive. Around them, alien guards stared in stunned silence. They had seen many warriors, but never one like this. Whispers spread instantly. An injured human had stood alone against armed invaders. He had protected the helpless while bleeding to death. The ship's captain arrived moments later. His eyes locked onto Ethan's unconscious form, then shifted to Saraya, demanding answers. She struggled to speak at first, then told the truth. The human did not attack first. He defended. The captain said nothing, but his expression changed. Respect replaced suspicion. As the chamber cleared, Saraya remained beside Ethan. Exhaustion washed over her. But her mind refused to rest. She replayed every moment. The fear, the misunderstanding, the courage. The truth became impossible to ignore. Humans were not dangerous because of their bodies. They were dangerous because of their will, their refusal to surrender, their instinct to protect others even at great cost. Saraya gently held Ethan's hand, something no medical protocol mentioned, but something that felt right, outside the room. The ship buzzed with discussion. Some feared humans more than ever. Others saw them as heroes. The galaxy's view of humanity had begun to shift, all because of one wounded soldier and one frightened nurse. As Ethan drifted deeper into unconsciousness, his heartbeat steady but weak, Saraya whispered softly, promising he would survive. She did not know what future awaited humans, but she knew one thing clearly now. Underestimating humanity was the greatest mistake the galaxy could make. And somewhere beyond the stars, forces far more powerful were beginning to take notice. The medical wing was sealed after the attack. Guards stood outside every door, alert and tense. The ship Drift Haven moved silently through space. Wounded but still alive, Ethan lay unconscious for many hours. Machines monitored every breath and heartbeat. His body showed extreme damage, yet it refused to shut down. Saraya stayed beside him without leaving. She skipped her rest cycle, ignoring exhaustion. Her eyes stayed fixed on the human, as if watching a mystery unfold. She reviewed his medical data again, slowly and carefully. This time she did not search for danger. She searched for understanding. The scans revealed something incredible. His muscles were repairing themselves at a level no alien race could reach. Microfractures closed, burned tissue rebuilt. Pain responses adjusted to keep him functioning. Saraya felt both awe and fear. Humans were not stronger because of weapons. They were stronger because their bodies adapted under pressure. The captain ordered a full report on the attack. Interrogated prisoners revealed the truth. The invaders came to capture a human, not supplies. This news spread like shock through the ship. Why would enemies risk attacking a medical vessel for one human? What made humans so valuable or so dangerous? Saraya's hands shook as she realized the answer. Humans were becoming symbols, living proof that some species refused to break. Ethan finally stirred. His eyes opened slowly. Heavy with pain, Saraya leaned closer. Relief flooding her chest, she spoke softly, using simple translated words. She told him he was safe, that he had saved many lives. Ethan tried to sit up and failed. Pain locked his body down. He smiled weakly anyway. He asked about the others, not himself, not his injuries. That moment hit Saraya harder than any scan result. Even after everything, the human cared about others first. She explained that the medical wing survived, that no patients were lost. Ethan closed his eyes, relieved. The captain entered the room quietly. His presence filled the chamber with authority. He studied Ethan like one studies a powerful storm. He asked Saraya if the human could understand. She nodded, activating the translator. The captain thanked Ethan directly, a rare honor in alien culture. Ethan listened silently, confused but respectful. The captain then asked one question. "Why did you stand up? You could have died." Ethan answered simply, "Because they could not stand." The room fell silent. No strategy, no pride, just truth. That answer spread across the ship within minutes. Crew members repeated it quietly, the meaning sinking deep. But not everyone felt admiration. Some officers feared what humans represented. If one injured human could do this, what could many do? Behind sealed doors, secret messages were sent. Warnings about humanity traveled faster than the ship itself. Saraya sensed the growing tension, respect and fear, walking side by side. Later, alone with Ethan, she asked carefully about humans. About Earth, about war. Ethan spoke slowly, choosing simple words. He told stories of loss, of family, of standing together. He said humans learned early that survival meant protecting each other. Saraya listened, absorbing every word. She realized humans were shaped by struggle. Every victory carved from pain, outside the medical wing. The ship changed. Guards trained harder. Officers watched humans with new eyes. The galaxy was not ready for humanity. But it would have to be, as Ethan rested again. Saraya looked at the stars beyond the window. She wondered how many worlds would fear humans, and how many would one day depend on them. The Drift Haven continued its journey, carrying not just wounded bodies, but a truth that could change galactic history. And somewhere far away, powerful forces listened carefully, planning their next move, because humanity had just announced itself to the stars. The Drift Haven dropped out of hyperspace without warning. The sudden stop threw crew members against walls and consoles. Warning sirens screamed through every corridor. Saraya grabbed the edge of Ethan's bed to steady herself. Her eyes widened as emergency lights flashed again. Something was very wrong. The ship's captain issued a sharp command across the intercom. Unknown vessels had surrounded them. Energy signatures showed military-class weapons. Fear spread faster than the alarms. A medical ship had no reason to be hunted like prey, yet the truth was now clear. They were not after the ship. They were after the human. Ethan heard the announcement through the translator. Pain still wrapped his body, but his mind was alert. He understood immediately what this meant. Saraya saw the change in his expression. A quiet seriousness replaced weakness. She felt a knot tighten in her chest. Enemy transmissions cut through the ship's systems. A cold voice demanded the surrender of the human soldier. In exchange, the ship and crew would be spared. The medical wing fell silent. Every eye turned toward Ethan's room. No one said his name, but everyone knew. The captain refused instantly. This was a medical vessel, not a prison transport. The demand violated every interstellar law. The enemy responded by powering their weapons. Energy readings climbed dangerously high. One wrong move could erase the ship from space. Saraya rushed to Ethan's side. She told him they would protect him. Her voice shook despite her courage. Ethan closed his eyes briefly. Memories of war flashed through his mind. He knew this situation too well. He asked Saraya to help him stand. Her breath caught as she shook her head. His body was still badly damaged. But Ethan insisted, not with anger, not with pride, but with calm certainty. He told her if he surrendered, the crew would live. Saraya felt panic rise. She refused, gripping his arm tightly. Outside, alien crew argued fiercely. Some believed surrendering one human was logical. Others remembered what he had done and refused to betray him. The enemy ships moved closer. Targeting systems locked on. Time was running out. Ethan struggled to sit up. Pain tore through him, but he did not scream. Saraya realized the truth then. Humans would sacrifice themselves without hesitation, not because they wanted to die, but because they refused to abandon others. The captain entered the medical wing again. His face hard, his voice steady, he announced a decision. The Drift Haven would not surrender the human. No matter the cost, shock rippled through the ship. This choice could doom them all. Yet something powerful had changed. The enemy ships opened fire. Space lit up with energy blasts. Shields screamed under the pressure. The Drift Haven shook violently. Systems failed one by one. The medical wing lost power again. Saraya shielded Ethan as debris fell. Fear gripped her, but she did not run. Ethan reached out and held her arm. He looked at her with quiet resolve. He thanked her. Those two words broke something inside her. She realized she would stand with him. No matter how this ended, security reports flooded in. The ship could not outrun the attackers. Weapons were minimal. Escape was unlikely. Then something unexpected happened. A new signal appeared on sensors, fast, powerful, and human. Multiple human warships dropped out of hyperspace. Their hulls scarred, their weapons ready. They positioned themselves between the Drift Haven and the attackers. A calm human voice broadcast across all channels. This medical ship is under human protection. Withdraw immediately. The enemy fleet hesitated. They had not expected human reinforcements. Fear rippled through their formation. Saraya watched the battle unfold through the viewport. Human ships moved with brutal efficiency. No wasted motion, no hesitation. The attackers retreated under overwhelming force. Jumping away into the darkness, the Drift Haven was safe. But nothing would ever be the same. Ethan collapsed back onto the bed, exhaustion finally winning. Saraya caught him just in time as silence returned. The medical wing filled with quiet awe. Humanity had arrived, not as monsters, but as guardians. Saraya looked at Ethan with new understanding. The galaxy feared humans for the wrong reasons. The real danger was not human aggression. It was human loyalty, and once earned, it could shake the stars. The silence after the enemy retreat felt unnatural. The stars outside looked calm. But everyone inside the Drift Haven knew danger was not over. Human warships stayed close, forming a protective wall around the medical ship. Their presence felt heavy and powerful, like silent guardians watching everything. Saraya stood near the window, her mind racing. She had never seen humans arrive like that. Not loudly, not proudly, but with absolute certainty. Ethan lay unconscious again, his body finally reaching its limit. Machines worked nonstop to keep him stable. His condition was critical, yet his vital signs refused to fade. The captain called an emergency meeting. Officers from different species argued intensely. Some feared that protecting a human would bring more attacks. Others believed abandoning him would make them cowards. Outside the meeting room, Saraya waited anxiously. She felt responsible for Ethan, not as a nurse alone, but as someone who had seen his true nature. Suddenly, the ship shuddered again. Not from weapons, but from a forced docking signal. Unknown, unauthorized, and aggressive. Human ships immediately responded. Warning messages flooded all channels. But the docking clamps attached anyway. Saraya's heart sank. This was not a rescue. This was something else. A transmission appeared on the main screen. A masked alien figure spoke calmly. He claimed to represent a powerful galactic faction. He demanded custody of the human, not to kill him, but to study him. The word study sent fear through the ship. Everyone knew what that meant. The captain refused again. His voice steady, but tense. He reminded them of interstellar law. The figure laughed softly. He said laws did not matter when fear ruled the galaxy. Saraya rushed back to Ethan's room. She checked every monitor with shaking hands. If they came for him, he could not fight. As if sensing danger, Ethan's eyes opened slowly. He saw Saraya's fear instantly. He asked one quiet question. "Are they coming?" She did not lie. She nodded. Ethan closed his eyes briefly, not in fear, but in thought. He told her something that shocked her deeply. "If they take me, they will never stop. They will hunt humans everywhere." Saraya felt cold fear wrap around her chest. She finally understood the real danger. This was not about one soldier. This was about humanity's future. Outside, the docking bay doors began to open. Heavy footsteps echoed through the halls. Elite soldiers moved with purpose. Human warships issued final warnings, weapons charging. But firing now would destroy the Drift Haven. The enemy knew this. They were using the wounded ship as a shield. Saraya stood between Ethan and the door. Her hands shook, but her body did not move. She made a decision, one that terrified her. She activated the internal lockdown of the medical wing. Sealing the room completely, alarms blared again. The captain shouted through the intercom, demanding an explanation. Saraya answered simply, "I will not give him up." The attackers began cutting through the door. Sparks flew, metal screamed. Ethan tried to rise. Pain surged. But Saraya gently pushed him back. This time, she was the shield. The door weakened with every second. Time was running out. Then a new voice entered the channel, deep, human, and filled with authority. "This is human command. Stand down immediately." Every ship in the sector lit up with human signatures. More than anyone expected, the attackers hesitated. For the first time, fear touched them. Saraya held her breath as the door stopped cutting. Silence returned. Humanity was no longer hiding. They were no longer quiet. They had drawn a line. And the galaxy was about to learn what happened to those who crossed it. The medical wing remained sealed. The air felt thick with tension and waiting. Outside the locked door, no sounds came anymore. Saraya stood still, listening. Her body ached from fear and exhaustion, but her mind stayed sharp. Ethan watched her quietly from the bed. He could see the change in her. She was no longer just a nurse following orders. She was someone who had chosen a side. Human command repeated the warning across all channels. Their voice calm, steady, and final. More human ships appeared on the sensors every second. The attacking faction realized they were outmatched, but pride and fear made them dangerous. They did not retreat immediately. Instead, they sent a final message. They accused humans of becoming a threat to galactic balance. They claimed humanity was too strong, too fast, too unpredictable. The captain of the Drift Haven listened silently, then responded with a single sentence, "This human saved my crew." That message echoed across open channels. Other ships heard it, other captains listened. Inside the medical room, Ethan tried to stand again. Saraya stopped him gently. She told him this fight was not his anymore. For the first time, Ethan obeyed, not because he was weak, but because he trusted her. Outside, negotiations collapsed. The hostile faction attempted to disengage and escape. Human ships blocked every route. A short battle erupted in space. Precise, controlled, and overwhelming. Human weapons disabled engines instead of destroying hulls. This shocked everyone watching. Humans could have wiped them out, but they chose restraint. The hostile ships were captured, their crews detained, their leaders exposed. The threat ended as quickly as it began, leaving silence and disbelief behind. The medical wing doors finally unlocked. The captain entered slowly. His expression was different now. He looked at Ethan, then at Saraya, and bowed slightly, a sign of deep respect. He announced that the attackers would face galactic trial. Their plans to hunt humans revealed to the wider council. The truth could no longer be hidden. News spread fast, across stations, fleets, and worlds. Stories of a wounded human who refused to fall. Saraya helped Ethan sit up carefully. His body was healing again, slowly but surely. His survival felt inevitable now. She asked him a question that had been growing in her mind. Why do humans keep standing up, even when it hurts? Ethan thought for a moment, then answered simply, because if we do not, someone else gets hurt. Those words stayed with her. They felt heavier than any weapon. The Drift Haven resumed its journey. No longer just a medical ship, but a symbol. Other species began requesting human alliances. Others began preparing defenses. The galaxy was dividing quietly. Saraya looked out at the stars again, knowing peace would not come easily, but also knowing hope now existed. Ethan rested beside her, not as a weapon, not as a monster, but as proof. Proof that humanity had entered the galactic stage, not seeking domination, but ready to face whatever came next. And far beyond the Drift Haven, powerful councils gathered in secret, whispering one shared thought: the humans have arrived. The Drift Haven approached the edge of known space. Stars thinned and darkness grew deeper. This region belonged to the Galactic Council. News of the recent attacks had already reached them. Messages spread faster than ships. Stories changed as they traveled, becoming legends. Some said a single human had defeated an entire boarding team. Others claimed humans could not be killed. Fear and admiration mixed into one dangerous emotion. Ethan was strong enough to walk now, slowly and with pain. But every step showed his recovery was real. Saraya walked beside him as they prepared for arrival. She wore her medical insignia with pride and tension. She knew the council would question everything. The council station loomed ahead, massive and ancient. Thousands of ships floated around it like insects. Every major species was present. As the Drift Haven docked, silence fell. Eyes followed the human from every corridor and screen. Some looked with hatred, others with hope. The council chamber opened. Wide and cold, Ethan stood in the center. Small compared to the towering figures around him, yet none of them moved closer. The council leader spoke first. He asked one simple question. Why does the galaxy fear humans? Ethan looked around. He saw suspicion. He saw fear. He saw misunderstanding. He answered calmly. The galaxy fears humans because it has never tried to understand us. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some council members protested. They listed wars, destruction, and human strength. Saraya stepped forward, despite protocol. Her voice shook at first, then grew steady. She spoke of the wounded human who stood up, of the soldier who protected strangers. She told them about misunderstanding biology, about fear becoming respect, about choosing trust over panic. The chamber fell quiet again. The council listened. Ethan added one final truth. Humans do not seek war, but we will never abandon those under our protection. That sentence echoed through the chamber. Some council members looked away. Others nodded slowly. The council leader announced a decision. Humans would no longer be treated as an unknown threat. They would be recognized as a sovereign force, but the warning came next. If humans ever turned that strength toward domination, the galaxy would unite against them. Ethan accepted this without anger. He understood balance. He understood responsibility. As the meeting ended, Saraya felt relief and fear together. Peace had been given a chance, but only barely, outside the chamber. Human ships waited, silent and watchful. The Drift Haven prepared to leave. Its mission complete, but its story just beginning. Saraya and Ethan stood together one last time in the medical wing. Not as nurse and patient, but as witnesses to history. Beyond the stars, new alliances would form. Old enemies would plan in shadows. The galaxy would remember this moment, when fear met understanding, when humanity chose to stand, and far away, in the dark between galaxies, something ancient stirred, watching the humans with interest, because the next chapter would be far more dangerous. And humanity would soon face a threat unlike any before.